our institution of global professional webinar. Thank you all for joining with us in this wonderful session. My lovely audience, today I am your host. I am Kamrul, coordinator of IGP from Bangladesh. Ladies and gentlemen, I am proud to be associated with IGP as a global member, and I feel honored to host this webinar. And it's my delight to welcome you all to our Institution of Global Professional free webinar. Once again, thank you again all for joining with us in this wonderful session. Before starting our program, I request everyone don't forget to tag, share, and mention your friends in the comment box. Before we have completed our 747 webinar successfully. Now I will be presenting webinar number 748, and the topic is upgrading the mathematics instruction using research and development design. Today we have the two speakers from Philippines. Today our first speaker is Sir Joshua Evaristo. He is the teacher one at Campus National High School. Let me welcome our speaker to the speech. Hello, sir.
Hello, sir. Good evening, good morning, or good afternoon.
Thank you, sir. So give a short description about yourself and then you can start your presentation. And before I request you to share your details.
Again, sir, come again.
So I request you to share your screen.
Okay,
PowerPoint
sir.
slide.
Thank you. Okay, sir.
Make it full screen, sir.
Is my screen already visitor?
But here there is not full screen.
Okay.
Just stop the sharing, then again share your screen, please. Okay, sir, it's okay.
Ah,
You can start your
is
presentation.
it okay? Thank you, sir. So again, hello, sir.
Yes, sir, it's okay, sir. You can start your presentation now.
So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone from all over the world. My name is Joshua Evaristo. Okay, a licensed professional teacher in the Philippines and a junior high school teacher at Capas National High School in Tarlac Province, Philippines, teaching mathematics for more than 3 years. And I'm currently working on my final paper, Interlock State University, as my final requirement in my graduate studies. So for today, I'm going to present my uh, research and development project to see the implication of this study to mathematics education and to mathematics instruction. So my study is entitled Development and Validation of eVideo M10 or Educational Videos Yearning Understanding Towards Mathematics 10. And after that, I'm going to present the research and development design. Okay. So before I proceed on my presentation, I would like to acknowledge and thank my supervisor, Dr. Sir Augusto Ballesteros, my mathematics supervisor in Schools Division of Tarlac Province, Sir Redentor Tamo, my mentor, our school principal, Dr. Mariolito G. Magcalas, together with my head teacher in mathematics, Dr. Manny Isip, for their support and encouragement. Also, I want to acknowledge my panelists on my proposal and final paper of my study, the Dean of the College of Teacher Education, Dr. Janice Mendoza, my research advisor, Dr. Robert Marcos, Dr. Emmy Vasquez, Dr. Glenda Blanco, and Dr. Maria Socorro Valdez, my research committee for their encouragements, insightful comments, and positive criticism to improve my study. Again, I presented to you my study, which is the development and validation of e-videos, also known as the educational videos yearning understanding towards mathematics 10. My name is Joshua Evaristo from the Philippines. Okay, so mathematics as one of the subject in school was often labeled as difficult, poor in innovation, and bored by many students. This negative perception gives a poor motivation for students to study mathematics, which results a low academic performance of the students. Okay? According to Torres, in his study in the year 2012, various reasons may be appealed on why students have a weak foundation on the basic concepts in mathematics. So it can be a factor of students' interest, academic performance, or retention of knowledge. So these are the problems that we are facing in mathematics education. Okay, some of the problems. So in line with this, various methods proposed by the different researchers, such as supplementary materials, can be used to make mathematics fun and easy to learn. However, the availability of these materials is limited in the four corners of the classroom. That is why the researcher developed and validate a supplementary material that can be easily accessed by both the teacher and the students to guarantee that there is a continuation of learning even outside the classroom. Okay, to minimize also, if not totally eliminate the problems mentioned in mathematics education. Okay, so that the material is the eVideo M10. So the supplementary material developed again is the eVideo M10, stands for Educational Videos Yearning Understanding Towards Mathematics 10. Okay, so the eVideo M10 is a compilation of educational videos that cover the most essential learning competencies produced by the Department of Education uh, in grade 10 mathematics for the third quarter. So those are the topics included in the eVideo M10. Okay, so what is presented now on your screen is a compilation of educational videos that covers the most essential learning competencies. Okay, okay, so it is what is presented on your screen is the diagram or the paradigm of the study. So first is the development of the material, which is the eVideo M10. Okay, after the development of the material, the specialists in the field of mathematics, okay, validated the eVideo M10 in terms of number one, objectives, then the content, the format and layout, the presentation, the instructional characteristics. Then their comments and their suggestions were considered to improve the material. In other hand, okay, the eVideo M10 was also validated in terms of the users, okay, on their academic performance and on their attitude towards the material. Okay, so using the pre-test, post-test only design for the academic performance and using survey or a questionnaire for the students' attitude. Basically, we use or the survey or the questionnaire used for the students' attitude is the SMMS, or that is the Supplementary Material Motivational Survey. Okay, so the result of the study will be served as the basis in determining, okay, if the material is effective. Okay, if the material is already effective, okay, you can go to the introduction to the to mathematics education already. However, if it's not effective, you will go back to the developmental stage. Okay, so you will develop again the a material, or you will enhance your material, then proceed to specialist validation, users validation, until to the implications to of implication of the materials to mathematics education or mathematics instruction. Okay. Specifically, the study seeks to achieve the following objectives. Okay. So number one is to develop eVideo M10 as a supplementary material for grade 10 learners for the third quarter. Okay. So the next objective is to validate the material, which is the eVideo M10, by mathematics specialists in the, okay, in terms of the objective, the content, the format and layout, the presentation, the instructional characteristics, and to validate the eVideo M10 by the users in terms of the students' performance and their attitude towards the material. Okay. The next one is to draw, okay, implication of the study to mathematics education. Okay, so to see how the material can help the teachers upgrade their mathematics instruction. Okay, so let us now proceed to the developmental stage, or the developmental phase of the material. Okay, so the eVideo M10. So we have four stages or four phases: phase one, phase two, phase three, and phase four. So for the phase one or step one, that includes the familiarization of the MELCs, or the most essential learning competency. So the researcher used the curriculum guide as the basis for selecting the content of each video lesson. Since the material is a compilation of videos, then you need to come up first what are the content of each video. Okay, so reading and reviewing the lessons in mathematics 10, for instance, is necessary before developing a video lesson. Of course, you need first to uh, familiarize yourself to the different lessons. Okay, then for the step number two, or phase two, the voiceover presentation style of video lectures, which primarily consists of a PowerPoint presentations with several animations, was used by the researcher. So the following picture shows the screenshots of the PowerPoint presentation used by the researcher for each lesson. So as you can see, this is the lesson one. Uh, it is a PowerPoint presentation with several animations. Okay, so this is lesson 2. We have the lesson 3 about, yeah, okay, we have the lesson 4, lesson 5, lesson 6, 7, and we have the last lesson, the lesson number 8. Okay, so after the phase 2, we can now proceed to the phase 3. Okay, after you develop the PowerPoint presentation, the researcher select available video extraction, okay, which is a Wondershare Filmora 9 that he used in making educational videos to get the desired output. So the length was established to be between 16 to 21 minutes. Okay, that is for my material. So then after you edit your videos, you can now proceed to the last step. That is, the created educational videos were posted on the researcher's YouTube channel. Okay, so that is the final steps in the developing video lesson. Okay, for instance. Okay, so each video lesson has a link. Okay, as a link to a practice exercise that viewers can access at any time to determine whether they have fully grasped the lesson before moving to the next video. Okay, so we have link for every lesson. Okay, so uh, next is the overview of the developed material. Okay, let's proceed to the lesson one. So this is the link for the video lesson and the description. Okay, then we have here some of the screenshots for the lesson one, okay, which is about illustrating permutation. Then we have the overview of the developed material, the link, and the description. Okay, so the title of our lesson two is Solve Problems Involving Permutation. Okay, after illustrating permutation, you may now solve the problems involving permutation. Okay, so these are the following screenshots taken on the video. Now let us proceed to the link and description of lesson number 3, which is about combinations. Okay, so these are now the following screenshots for lesson number 3. Again, let's proceed to lesson number 4, which is the difference between permutation and combination, the link and the description for lesson 4. Okay, so here are some of screenshots taken on the video. Okay, so for lesson 4. Then the lesson 5 is about word problems involving permutation and combination. Here are some, here is the link and the description of the video. Okay, let us now proceed okay, to the some of the screenshots. Okay, for lesson number 5. Then here is the link and description for lesson 6 about illustrating events, union, and intersection of events. Okay. So here are the screenshots for lesson 6. Then we have the lesson number 7, which is about the probability of union of two events. After that, we have, okay, these are the screenshots for lesson 7. And our last lesson, lesson 8, is about the probability of dependent and independent event. Okay, so these are the screenshots for lesson 8. So the validation, the developmental stage, again, is has 4 phases. Now, after you develop your material, okay, your product, you may now proceed on the validation part. So the validation phase of the material, which is the eVideo M10, has 2 phases, okay, or 2 parts. The first one is the mathematics specialist, validation by mathematics specialists, and then the validation by users. So let's start to the validation of the math specialist. So on my material, okay, 7 mathematics specialists validated the eVideo M10. Okay, so one educational program supervisor in math who completed his academic requirements for doctorate degree and more than 30 years in the Department of Education. Another validator is a head teacher 3 in mathematics, designated as officer in charge, assistant school principal, and more than 30 years in the field of teaching. So a head teacher 3 in mathematics, which is also a PhD degree holder, and 15 years in the field of teaching mathematics. A master teacher 1, okay, who completed her academic requirements in Master of Arts in Education in Mathematics, teaching mathematics for 30 years. Another master teacher 1 in math, teaching mathematics for 31 years, completed her academic requirements in MAED mathematics. Teacher 3 in mathematics, teaching junior high school, specifically grade 10 for 29 years. And lastly, a doctor, PhD degree holder who is also designated as a teacher 3 in mathematics, teaching math for 14 years. So those are my uh, mathematics specialists. So they were carefully chosen because of their excellence and long-term experience in teaching mathematics. So let us now proceed to the results of the evaluated eVideo M10. Okay. So in terms of the objective, it was found to have a mean rating of 4.94 and considered as highly acceptable. Okay, this implies that the objective of each video lesson in all of the videos in the material are well constructed, they are aligned and relevant to the needs of the respondents. Since the computed value or computed mean rating in statement number 2, number 4, and number 5 is 5.0, and that is the highest possible rating. In terms of the content of the material, the result was found to have a mean rating of 4.89 and considered as highly acceptable. This implies that the content of the eVideo M10 specifically correlated to the stated objectives. Okay? And the topics are accompanied by examples, serves as an illustrations. Since we have the statement 1 and the statement 4 got a mean rating of 5.0, the highest possible rating. Now let us proceed to the format and layout of the material. So the results of the eVideo M10 was found to have a mean rating of 4.97, which is highly acceptable in terms of the format and the layout of the material. This implies that the lessons are more engaging, okay, because of the well-planned format and layout and the language used in every video is easy to comprehend and the instructions are clear and easy to follow. The mean rating of 4.97 gives a highly acceptability rate for the presentation of the eVideo M10. This implies that the sequential presentation, the uniqueness, and the creativity were observed in each video since statement 1, statement 2, statement 3, and 4 got a mean rating of 5.0, and that's the highest possible rating. Okay, so in terms of the instructional characteristics, okay, the mean rating of 4.97 gives a highly acceptability rate. Okay, in terms of the instructional characteristics of the eVideo M10. Okay, this implies that the material encourages students to study mathematics. Okay, and develop higher order thinking skills. Okay, so analytical thinking and reasoning skills of the students in mathematics. Okay, because the computed mean rating for statement 1 to 4 is for statement 1, 2, 4, and 5 is 5.0. So, uh, so for the summary of the mean rating evaluated by mathematics specialists, it was concluded that the material is effective. Okay, so the mathematics specialists therefore agreed that the supplementary material eVideo M10 is highly acceptable with a grand mean of 4.95. This signifies that the material is a great help to enhance students' academic performance in Math 10, and it can motivate a students' interest. Okay, so now let us proceed to the validation phase of the eVideo M10 by the users. Okay, so in terms of the performance of their pre-test and post-test. Then after that, the attitude, okay, of the students toward the material. So let us proceed first to the students' performance. So first, in terms of the validation of users or validation of the materials by the users, okay, in their performance, in their pre-test and post-test. First, the researcher identified the sample size using the Sloven's formula. So the total population is 1,271 using the Sloven's formula. Uh, the sample size is 305, or you need a sample size of greater than or equal to 305 students. Okay, then after computing the sample size, the researcher identified the control and the experimental group using random sampling. Okay, so this is the summary of the number of students for the controlled and experimental group, okay, in every section, okay, in the school. Okay, so next, the computed sample size 310, of course, is divided into 155 control group and 155 students in the experimental group. Okay, the both groups answer the pre-test, okay, before the instruction. Then the experimental group was taught using the eVideo M10, while the control group without the material, okay, the developed material. Then the post-test was administered to the both uh, groups. Okay, so after after the students, okay, answer the post-test, you already have your results. You may now proceed, okay, in answering your hypothesis. Okay, so you may use, okay, the independent sample t-test and the paired sample t-test. Okay, the researcher actually used two statistical treatments, the independent sample t-test and the paired sample t-test, to answer the hypothesis. Okay, so using the independent sample t-test for the pretest of the controlled and the experimental group, the calculated p-value is 0.869, which is greater than the alpha level 0.05. Hence, the null hypothesis is accepted, indicating that the student's prior knowledge was about the same level before the discussion of the lessons. Okay, now let us proceed to the paired sample t-test in pre-test and post-test of the control group. So using the paired sample t-test, the calculated p-value is 0.00, which is obviously less than the alpha level 0.055. Thus, the null hypothesis is rejected. Okay. Also, the computations for the paired sample t-test in the pre-test and post-test of experimental group is 0.00. Okay, which means that the difference, okay, which means that there is a significant difference between the pre-test and the post-test scores of the experimental group. However, the mean difference for experimental group is greater than the mean difference for the control group. Since the mean difference for the experimental group is 13.17 or 13 and 17, and the mean difference for the control group is just 5.57. Okay, now let us proceed to the independent sample t-test for the post-test and control, post-test of the control and experimental group. Okay, it was found that there is a significant difference, okay, between the post-test scores of the experimental and control group. Okay, in favor of the experimental group. Okay? For the gain scores, okay, same results were computed. Okay? It's also 0.00. Thus, it was shown that the developed eVideo M10 serves its purpose as a supplementary material since the performance of the students in the experimental group has a significant difference in the performance of the control group in favor of the experimental group who use the material. After the students in the experimental group watch all of the videos, okay, or the eVideo M10, they were asked to evaluate the video-based supplementary material in terms of the students' attitude on the use of the materials. Then the attitude is divided into into four components rather: the attention, the relevance, the confidence, and their satisfaction. Okay, but based on the findings, viewers believe that the eVideo M10 captured their attention because the mean average is 4.19 with a verbal description of mostly true under the attention components of the attitude of the students on the use of the material. Okay, so this is the summary. Next is mostly of the respondents responded very true with an average of 4.42, indicating that the students understand the importance and the suitability of the video-based supplementary materials in mastering the lessons in Mathematics 10. Okay, so next is on the confidence component. Based on the findings, viewers are confident that the material or the eVideo M10 can help them learn the content and master the lessons being discussed in each video since the mean rating is 4.07 with a verbal description of mostly true. Okay, then mostly of the respondents responded very true with an average of 4.36, indicating that the students enjoy studying with the use of the material after watching all of the videos. They were experience a satisfying feeling of accomplishments. Okay, so overall, 80% or 124 out of 155 students had a positive attitude towards the material. This signifies that developed eVideo M10 assessed as an effective supplementary material in Mathematics 10, which can caters students' attention, the relevance of the video in every lesson. It can boost students' confidence and provides satisfaction to viewers. Okay, so let us now proceed to the implication of the study to mathematics education or mathematics instruction. To address this issue in mathematics education, mathematics teachers need to find a way to introduce and discuss the lessons in Mathematics 10, okay, or in mathematics to students in an interesting and innovative way. The developed interactive material or a creative supplementary material will be a beneficial to students as they study and enjoy mathematics. Okay? So that is the implication of the study in mathematics education or mathematics instruction. So after the development and the validation of the material, okay, it was concluded that the developed eVideo M10 was effective in addressing the issues in mathematics education, both on the low academic performance of the students and the students' attitude towards mathematics. Okay? So for the recommendations, grade 10 math teachers could use the eVideo M10 as supplementary materials in teaching and learning competencies for third quarter in Mathematics 10. Okay, teachers should consider using innovative and alternative method of instruction, particularly maximizing the advent of technology like integrating video-based instruction materials during discussion. Students enrolled in grade 10 could access the eVideo M10 in the YouTube account of the researcher to help them understand the different lessons in Mathematics 10. Schools administrators should conduct trainings and seminars for teachers about developing educational video lessons and encourage teachers to integrate technology education in teaching students to easily get the attention and interest of the students. Next, the future research may try to develop and validate supplementary material integrating technology and video-based instruction in other subjects or in different grade levels. So that is an example of a paper or a research and development design. Okay, so that is an example of a complete research we use R&D design or research and development project. Okay, so the researchers in education field applied a research and development or R&D method by Borg and Gall in 1983 as a method to develop and validate their educational products. In fact, this method has been tremendously applied by educational practitioners and researchers in designing their models of educational products. Examples of research use R&D design or R plus D design are those who develop instructional materials or supplementary materials and validated those materials just like what I've presented. Okay, aside from what I have used in my research as steps in my research and development project, here are some of the studies who also use R&D method in upgrading mathematics instruction. So we have Daulay and Zaman in 2012, an online tutorial model through FAQ application. Okay, we have also a writing module by Rofi Murtadho and Ramat in 2018, Rosnawati Kartowagiran and Jailani in 2015, a formative assessment model of critical thinking in learning mathematics. Weno 2010, a learning module for exact science using problem solving. Okay, we also have some research. We use R&D design to upgrade mathematics instruction. Okay, so the researcher is Yugtu in 2019. The title of the research is Development and Validation of HADI-MAP, Mathematics Application Program-Based Pedagogy, Board Games in Improving the Skills in Selected Topics in Geometry. Another researcher is Galang in 2019. The title of the research is A Contextualized and Localized Self-Learning Kit for Perceptual Errors on Quadrilaterals of Tibag High School Learners, Development and Validation. Next is Lamon 2020. She developed a module in statistics for grade 7. Then we have Austria in 2020, interactive strategic intervention material in selected topics in algebra. So those are some of the research we use R&D design to improve mathematics instruction. Thank you so much for listening. Okay. Hello, sir.
Hello, hello.
Hello, sir.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Thank you, sir, for your wonderful presentation.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, after our second speaker presentation, we proceed to our Q&A session. Okay, sir. Dear participants, let's we invite our second speaker through the screen. Hello, ma'am.
Hello, sir. Good evening, good morning, and good afternoon po to all mathematics educators.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, give a short description about yourself, then you can start your presentation. And before I request you to share the screen.
Pardon, sir.
Ma'am, share your screen, please. Ma'am, share your screen, please.
Sorry, sir.
Ma'am, share your screen, please.
Ma'am, share your screen. Okay.
Can you see my presentation, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, you can start your presentation now.
Is my voice clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you
Voice
so
is
much,
clear.
sir. Good evening, mathematics educators. I am Trisha Maybe Ordonio, a teacher from Victoria National High School, Tarlac, Philippines. So now, before I will proceed to present my study, I would like to take this opportunity to thank all the people who contributed in the improvement of my study. In the Tarlac State University, Dr. Jasper J. N. Mendoza, the Dean of the College of Teacher Education. To the thesis committee, Dr. Robert V. Marcos, Dr. Maria Cristocoro D. Valdez, Dr. Emmy Vasquez, and to my supportive advisor, Dr. Glenda P. Blanco. And also, I want to thank Sir Redentor B. Tabamo, the OIC of BN Ans High School, Concepcion, Tarlac, Philippines, for giving us opportunity to present our study here in this platform. Thank you, IGP. With the topic upgrading the mathematics instruction using research and development design, let us first define and review the purpose of research and development design. Research and development design, or R&D, is a general term for all those investigative activities that an educational institute, professionals, and students conducts with the intention of creating a new body of knowledge about existing products or processes, or the creation of an entirely new product that can provide a competitive advantage. So the R&D design in education, we can create products just like instructional materials, is specific curriculum for educational needs. The processes here are the teaching methods, assessment methods, and so on. So, it is the teacher's task to improve the quality of education. One of the ways to achieve this goal is the use of research and development design. In education, we can develop different products and processes that can improve the quality of education. Indeed, research plays a vital part in teaching and learning process since teachers create educational products that suits the level of the students, which can result in significant learning outcomes. So now I am going to present to you a product of research and development design, my study strategic intervention material or SIM in aiding difficulties on distance learning in Mathematics 7. So here I use the existing knowledge to create a new product for my study. Again, I am Tricia Maybe Ordonio, a teacher from the Philippines. Mathematics is perceived by the society as the foundation of technological and scientific knowledge. It is one of the factors that is an instrument in the development in every aspect of our life. Indeed, mathematics has importance over and above its perceived applications in numeracy skills. However, it cannot be denied that mathematics perceived by the students as it is the most difficult subject in their curriculum. That's why students have anxiety in mathematics, which leads to mathematics class becomes boring. And this results to mathematical difficulties, which are problem around the world. That is according to Docker 2019. Mathematics is needed for survival, not just because it is applied in every aspect of our lives, but also it is an effective way in, in building mental discipline and encourages logical reasoning and mental rigor. So now, students' diversity is a challenge for us teachers to um, respond in these challenges. Here, we teachers provided different seminars, workshops, trainings like this one in order for us to be equipped with the knowledge and skills that we are needed in order to form different instructional materials, different processes, in order for us to learn more processes to improve our teaching strategies and teaching methods. However, these trainings and workshops were not enough. That's why teachers need to read, search, and study on how we can find ways or how we can develop materials that will suit the interests of the students, or we can how we can um, achieve the goals in education. Algebra is a branch of mathematics which enhance the ability to think logically, critically, or to improve their investigative skills. It is a branch of mathematics which is one of the most important branch because it is the foundation of the succeeding mathematics. As we all know, mathematics teachers, algebra is applied in most of the branch of mathematics. And this algebra is introduced in grade 7. That's why we need to build a strong foundation for the grade 7 students for them to be ready for the next level of mathematics instruction. Algebra has advantages and benefits to students. However, there are existing problems. There are lack of instructional tools for distance learning. Students seldom master basic concepts. And if these basic concepts were combined to complex topics, there is the confusion on the side of the students. And these confusions will lead to low performance. And take note, teachers, if there are low performance, of course, there are least learned competencies or the least mastered competencies that are needed to be addressed. When there are least learned competencies, therefore, we need an intervention in order for us to bridge the gaps on the students. Again, we should provide students the quality of education. We need to teach them for them to achieve the mastery level in every lesson that we are teaching. According to the HAR 2011, schools need to provide instructional materials to the teachers for the students to use this inside the classroom because as the HAR said, instructional materials boost the mastery of the students. And of course, when we say instructional materials, it will not only teach the it will not only a supplement in the daily teaching, but also the instructional material should reflect the importance and the application of our lesson in the daily living. In my study, I use strategic intervention material because I saw a potential with this material that I can use in the remediation process. This SIM was conceptualized for remediation purposes as one of the solutions employed by DepEd to enhance academic achievements of the students performing low in the field of science and technology. In addition, DepEd Memo number 117, series of 2005, it is about a training provided to teachers in order to learn to create strategic intervention materials. However, due to limited number of participants, we need to share our knowledge in creating a SIM. My study aimed to achieve the following objectives. Number one is to develop a strategic intervention material or SIM in aiding difficulties on the least learned competencies of grade 7 learners in algebra. Next, to validate the strategic intervention material in algebra, mathematics 7, by specialists in terms of objectives, content, format and layout, presentation, and instructional characteristics. Next is to be validated by the users. And three, to draw an implication of the study to teaching mathematics. This is the flow of my study. First is the development of strategic intervention material, followed by specialist validation. Next is the effectiveness to the users. If the results are not valid, we need to modify or improve the material. If the result is valid, we will proceed to implication to mathematics education. So next it's the research design. Of course, I use research and development design since I developed a product that can be used in teaching mathematics, and I use the quasi-experimental method since there is a limitation in my study. And of course, if I use the quasi-experimental method, purposive sampling is the best sampling method to be used. Here is the map. G1 for experimental group, O sub 1 is for the pretest, X is the strategic intervention material, G2 is the control group, and O2 is the post-test. And now, let's proceed to the instruments. Instruments are used in collecting data. Therefore, it is a must that the instruments we will use in our study are valid. So in my study, I use an evaluation scale to evaluate my material, the strategic intervention material. I adapted the material or the instrument rather from Torrefranca 2009. And the teacher made tests for pre-test or post-test. I made this test and was validated by different mathematics teachers. The data analysis, first is the weighted mean for the evaluation scale. So there are range for the evaluation scale so that we can say the mean is valid or the material is valid. Here is the range: 4.5 to 5, that is very evident. 3.5 to 4.49, that is evident. 2.5 to 3.49, that is moderately evident. 1.5 to 2.49, that is less evident. And 1.0 to 1.49, that is least evident. Later on, we will see the weighted mean in each category on the evaluation scale. Next one is the mean difference in the pre-test and post-test results. The mean difference of control and experimental group in terms of post-test were used to test if the material is more effective than the use of traditional teaching. And here is the data gathering procedure. Step 1, we have the development of strategic intervention material. Step 2 is the validation of the SIM by mathematics specialists. Step 3 is the utilization or reproduction of SIM. And step 4, the validation of the SIM by users. So I developed SIM, and the basis are the least learned competencies from the past 3 school years, not only during the distance learning, but also the past 3 school years. Here are the least learned competencies revealed in the second quarter summative test in the topic or in the branch algebra. First is derives laws of exponents. Second, multiplies and divides polynomials. Third is about the special products. A, for product of two binomials. B, product of the sum and difference of two terms. C, square of a binomial. And D, cube of a binomial. And letter E, product of a binomial and trinomial. And last, number 4, that is solving linear inequality in one variable. So here are the strategic intervention material I developed. I applied curriculum contextualization is the process of matching the curriculum content and instructional strategies relevant to the learners. Since teachers identify and respond to opportunities to link the teaching and learning in the classroom experiences and interests. By linking the content to the local experiences that are familiar to students, learning will be more efficient and relevant to the learners. So here I created 4 strategic intervention materials. These are story and adventure based theme. So first one is the loss of exponent. Loss of exponent, it is a story of a girl named Miss P, who is always making mistake by not being familiar with the laws in mathematics. Math police officers gave her a chance to review the laws to prevent from having another mistake. So next, the story relates to the lesson since following the laws and rules carefully will prevent to commit for another mistake which results a bigger damage or consequences. So here is Misty, who is asking help for her schoolmates. And then this is the learning competency and the objectives. Next one is the multiplication and division of polynomials. It is about a family who live in Victoria, a town in the Philippines, and they own a farm that is full of vegetables and fruits. The family creates fruit shakes from fruits and relates the outcomes in multiplying and dividing polynomials. So by combining or separating a factors, you can create a product or a quotient. So there she is. She has a fruit shake and relates it to multiplying polynomials. Next one, it is one of the interesting topic in algebra, the special products. It is a story about a class who went to a field trip in a math factory. Each factory produces special products. Here is the factories or here are the factories. We have 5 factories. We have square of a binomial, cube of a binomial, product of 2 binomials, product of binomial and trinomial, and sum and difference of binomials. So each one of them needs to learn in creating products before going to the next factory. We have here factory 1, factory 2, 3, 4, and 5. It relates to special products which contains different cases to be multiplied, and it will create products using a special method or pattern. Isn't it? In special products, we have patterns. Next, this is the story of a bee who is finding its value after being left by its partner. So it relates to the method in solving linear inequality, which needs a variable to be isolated in one side of the inequality to solve for its possible values. Yeah, that is BIX. And here is the learning competency and the objectives. Next one is the validation of SIM by mathematics specialists. So there are 5 mathematics specialists who validated the strategic intervention material. On the objectives, it has an average of 4.92, which is very evident. And it means that the indicators under the objectives were met. Here are some indicators. The objectives are clearly stated in behavioral form. It is well planned, formulated, and organized. The objectives are specific, measurable, and attainable. It is, of course, relevant to the topic, and it takes into account on the needs of the students. So we have 4.92, and next we have the content of strategic intervention material. The average is 4.88, also very evident. So we can see here that the content is directly relevant to the defined objectives. The content is simple and easy to understand. It is fully discussed. The lessons are fully discussed, and each topic is given equal emphasis in the lesson. And the topics are supported by illustrative examples and practice tasks that are suited to the level of the students. And the assessment are adequate and suitable to the topics in the SIM. Next one is the format and layout of strategic intervention material. So we have here the average of 4.88. We have the format and layout, which makes the lesson more interesting. It is easy to understand. It is clear, concise, and motivating. And the graphics are simple and easy to recognize. Clarity and supplement text properly labeled or captioned and attractive and appealing. We have 4.88. Next, on the presentation, we got an average of 5, the highest possible score. The topics are presented in a logical manner, in sequential order. It is unique and original. It has activities which are presented clearly, and the lessons are attractive and interesting to the students. So next one is the instructional characteristics of the SIM. It has an average of 4.84, which means the SIM will motivate the students to study algebra. It will help the students master the topics at their own pace. The students will allow the students to use their time more efficiently, and the SIM develop analytical thinking and reasoning skills, and it will serve as supplementary material that can cater the needs of the students. In a summary, we have a total mean rating of 4.9, which is very evident. Therefore, The strategic intervention material, according to the mathematics specialist, is valid. And therefore, we can use strategic intervention material to help the students to bridge the gaps in the learning difficulties or the learning these learned competencies. Next, here are the comments of mathematics specialists. One of them said that I enjoyed viewing the Sims. I hope these Sims will be used as many learners as possible because it will certainly be a big help to them. The material is lined with the curriculum and standard and is current, valid, and reliable. With the real-world materials, it is free from bias. The content and direction are clear and understandable. Materials are easy to navigate through. The materials are interactive and provide high-quality sensory experiences for all users. Graphics and animations were very commendable. Learning activities will surely motivate the students to answer. So other comments and suggestions were incorporated to the sim in order for the material to be improved and to be valid. Next is the reproduction of SIM. Here in the remediation process, I use digital SIM in the classroom and I provided the students the printed copy that will serve as the reviewing tool or activity worksheets. So next is the validation of SIM by the users. Of course, in order to validate, we need the pretest of the control and experimental group before the start of the treatment period or the remediation period. Next, number two, both groups will undergo a remediation. Control group will use the traditional teaching, while the experimental group will undergo remediation using the strategic intervention material. And number three, the last is the post-tests were conducted to control and experimental group. Now, for us to see if the materials are valid according to the students, we can now use t-tests in order to interpret the results. We have here, I use independent sample t-tests between pre-test of control and experimental group. The mean of control is 10.7647 and experimental we have 10.7059. We have different ways in interpreting the results. We can use the t-statistic and critical value or use p-value, and we can use the confidence interval. Here, I use p-value. If p-value is greater than the alpha, therefore we need to accept the null hypothesis. As we can see here, 0.948 is greater than 0.05. Therefore, there is no significant difference between the pretest and post-test, between the pretest of control and experimental group. Now, in addition, look here in the confidence interval for the lower and the upper. We have a lower negative 1.7588 and the upper is 1.8765. From this interval, we know that 0 is included. Therefore, if 0 is included, there is no significant difference because we are testing the mean difference. Next, we have the paired sample t-test between the pre-test and post-test of control group. We have here the p is 0 and the alpha is 0.05. Since p-value is 0 is less than 0.05, reject null hypothesis. There is a significant difference between the pre-test and post-test of control group. We can say that traditional teaching is effective in the remediation process. Here we have the lower 12.2 and the upper is 16.1892. We can see that 0 is not included, therefore reject null hypothesis. Next, we have the paired sample t-test for the pre-test and post-test of experimental group. We have here a p is 0 and alpha is 0.05. And we can conclude that there is a significant difference between the pretest and posttest since p is less than 0.05. In the confidence interval, lower is 15.273 and the upper is 20.9623. 0 is not included, therefore reject null hypothesis. Both traditional teaching and with the use of SIM were both effective in remediation process. However, we need to test if control group and experimental group performed better in the post-test. We have here the control group mean is 25, experimental group is 28.8235 in the mean. Let us see the probability value or the p, which is 0.048, is less than alpha, which is 0.05. Therefore, even though there is a small difference from p and alpha, we can reject the null hypothesis since p is less than alpha. Always remember, we are using 95% confidence level in this study. And the interval look at the lower 0.0279 and the upper is 7.6192. Again, 0 is not included, therefore we need to reject null hypothesis. There is a significant difference between the post-test of control and experimental. It says here in the interpretation that experimental group performs better than the control group. We can say that the use of SIM in remediation process is more effective than the traditional method. So, with the use of strategic intervention materials that are story and adventure type based, it promotes active participation of the students and it promotes critical thinking of the students. It leads to improved performance of the students in algebra. Therefore, the implication of this study to mathematics teaching is teachers must provide teachers must be provided the trainings and workshops to use SIM as a content in trainings and webinars so that they can create their own strategic intervention material in bridging the gaps or bridging the learning gaps of the students in order for the students to boost their mastery level. So here we have the recommendations. Number 1, the school administrators may use the developed SIM in providing intervention programs in aiding the least learned competencies in Mathematics 7 of their learners. Next, number 2, mathematics department heads may consider this study as the basis for conducting department-based trainings and webinars to equip the mathematics teachers with knowledge in creating SIM innovations to bridge the gaps on the least learned competencies. Number 3, mathematics teachers on the grade 7 level may use the developed SIM as a tool in remediation to learners in order to enrich and develop the skills and knowledge on different mathematics lessons which are prerequisites in the next level of learning mathematics. Number 4, the grade 8 teachers may use the developed SIM in related lessons as a review material before proceeding to the main discussion. Since these materials consist of lessons that are related to the present topic. since our curriculum in the Philippines is spiral. Number 5, the integration of story and adventure type flow to the SIM may prescribe as a method in creating SIM, covering the listening competencies on different grade levels in mathematics as well as in other subject areas. And last, the future researchers could use this study as a guide to develop other SIMs that are technology-based, which caters the needs, level, and interests of the students that are needed for the intervention on the least learned competencies to be successful. So that's it. That's my study, and I encourage you, mathematics educator, to create new products that will promote or enhance the interest of the students for them to be prepared for the next level of mathematics learning. So education is the passport to the future, for tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today. So thank you so much. Hello, sir. Can you hear me, sir?
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much, ma'am, for your wonderful presentation about
Thank you po,
research.
sir.
Now, ma'am, we are going to our Q&A after a short break. Please, we come back again. Okay, ma'am?
Sir, according to our uh, one of the comments here in the IGP, there is no question and answer portion in our session for today, since the purpose of our presentation is only to present our study, which is the product of research and development design. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Welcome back, dear participants. It's our Q&A session time. You can send your question in the comment box. After Q&A, we have certification process. So participants are requested to ask their question in the comment box. Hello, sir. Hello.
Hello, sir.
Okay, sir. Our first question for both speaker. The question is, did you give an additional activity to your control group? And thank you.
Okay. So, based on the question, if we give the additional activity to, hello, if we give if we give additional activity to the control group, no, ma'am. Uh, the activity that we should give to the control group is the same to the activity that we give to the experimental group. The only difference is the material, the developed material. So you're going to use the material to the experimental group to see if your material is effective. That is to validate if your material is effective in terms of the users.
Ma'am Tisha,
I did not give additional activity for the control group, sir, since the activity for the control and experimental group are already the same. That's all. Thank you po.
thank you, ma'am. Dear participants, we are still waiting for our next question. Participants are requested to ask their question in the comment box. If you have any question related this topic, you can freely ask the question in the comment box. Sir, our next question is, hello, good evening. What are the challenges you have experienced during the study? Additionally, can this study be applied to a bigger group like for more than one school? Sir Joshua,
Okay, so what were the challenges you have experienced during this study? During the conduct of this study, sir, some of the problems or challenges that we have encountered is, of course, the availability of the respondents. Okay, so in order to assure that you have the exact or the valid sample size, of course, we use purposive sampling. So those students who are available uh, only are only those students who are available can be part of the study. Okay. And for the next question, if we can apply to a bigger group, like more than one school, we can actually apply your study to a bigger group, like more than two or one school. If your population of if your target population is, for example, uh, five schools, but I think it is much challenging, more challenging the than in one school. So I advise if we will conduct our study in just a specific school. Uh,
Okay. So I experienced challenges during the study is when we are selecting sections or respondents in the study, since I conducted my study during the face-to-face instruction and only limited number of participants in every classroom is allowed. Therefore, the number of students were compromised to the uh, uh, maximum number of students that are required only in a classroom, which is 20. And there I chose two sections who are 20 students, and I use them as the control and experimental group. That's why I use purposive sampling. And then my study can be applied to a bigger group if the material or my strategic intervention material will be localized to their uh, community or localization on their provinces. Example, sir, we have I have different places in the strategic intervention material. We can modify the strategic intervention material by changing the name of the province or the municipalities where I use in the strategic intervention material. With that, they can use it in the other schools or the bigger group.
Thank you, ma'am. I hope we have no more question. Thank you very much for your meaningful presentation, and thank you very much for sharing your valuable knowledge with us and giving us your valuable time. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Dear participants, today our program name is Upgrading the Mathematics Instruction Using Research and Development Design, Integrity and Ethics. Today our program code is IGP 9876. The code is IGP 9876. Without code, no one is eligible for certificate. With code, you can claim your certificate anytime. And without an account on our website, you can visit only, but you can do anything functionally. So to download your certificate, you have to go to our website. Our website address is eduizp.com. After collecting your certificate, don't forget to celebrate with IGP. Thank you everyone for attending this session. I hope you learned something new from this presentation. Thank you very much everyone. Stay happy and